Welcome to the online credit workshop masterclass. In this class, you'll learn everything you need to know as it pertains to your credit and how to take your credit from where it is now to where you want it to be. We are your instructors. Hello, you got Mr.
and Mrs.
Smith. And really, we just want to kind of give you a little background and just kind of express why we feel you should listen to us. I mean, we are two people who understand what it feels like to have 800 credit scores. Prior to us gaining knowledge about what we're about to share with you, we were able to take our credit scores to a level of credit scores being in the 800s. I had two credit scores that were a little bit over 800 and one that was like 794 due to the information that we're about to share with you. And even after making a large purchase such as a home, it didn't hurt our credit to the point where I still have high 700 credit scores, all because of this information we're about to share with you. So hopefully you gain an understanding of something that you can take, run with, duplicate, and get your credit score wherever you want it.
Yeah, most definitely. Some of you guys know us for teaching financial education, but credit is an aspect that you do not want to sleep on. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now, let's just go over some facts, okay? It is a fact that everybody is interested in credit from some angle, okay? Let's get into more facts. 68 million people have bad credit. 40 million more have an error. Did you know that in 2018, credit was a $3 billion industry? 79% of people who disputed errors were successful in removing them. And at the end of the day, everyone wants good credit.
Gotta love it, gotta love it. Now, we wanted to give you paint a picture as it relates to the ages and how it connects with your credit. So these are just some statistics as it relates to the scores by age. Does age have an effect on your score? You might be wondering, am I at an age where I should have high credit score, or am I too young to have a high credit score? Well, let's give you the statistics and we'll break down the truth behind the matter. If a person is 70 plus years of age, on average their credit score is about 730. So they have good credit, typically 70 and above. 50 to 69, their average credit score is 700. 35 to 49, their average credit score is 655. 21 to 34, which is the range that we fall in, their average credit score is 634. And under the age of 20 typically has an average credit score of 630. Now, we told you we had 800 plus credit scores, and we fall into the range of people who average a credit score of 634. So obviously that does not have to be the case, but statistically, the older you are, the greater chances your credit score will be high. The reason being is you just had more opportunity to experience using your credit in order to make it good or bad. So if you're older, you probably had more credit cards. You probably applied for more loans and had cars that you may have paid off, or purchased a home that allowed your credit score to be higher than someone who is under the age of 20. So age has an effect, but not really. It's more so about the experience you gain during your credit process. But we at least wanted to give you statistics because it all goes hand in hand.
All right, so let's talk about income, you guys. Do you think that your scores, your income often reflects your score? Yes, absolutely. So let's go through, again, just some more statistics. $30,000 or less, your average credit score is 590. Anywhere between $30,001 to $49,999. Guess what? The average score is 643. And between $50,000 and $74,999, the average score is 737. Now, basically, statistics are showing that poor credit is often the result of the lack of income. So your lack of money, I don't know if you heard this saying, your lack of money costs you money, and it also obviously costs you your credit score. So let's talk about, just some solutions to these quote-unquote problems.
Absolutely. And this is what you got to understand as it relates to, the amount of money you have in your credit. If you have more money, then you're more likely to pay off your debt. So that puts you in a higher position or a higher chance of you having a higher credit score. So if your credit is not good based on your income, then it might be a good idea to increase your income in order to heighten your score. But we'll dive more into that a little bit futuristically. Now, let's talk about the credit score. What is a good credit score? Most people get this answer right away. When we take questions and we're doing a live workshop and we ask this question, most people say they understand what good credit is. Well, let's talk about the best credit. Best credit is 800 to 850. 850 is actually a perfect credit score, but anything 800 or above is considered to be the best credit. Excellent credit, 750 to 799. Good credit, which is what we ask, is 700 and above. So anything above 700 is considered to be good, excellent, or best credit. Specifically 700 to 749. Fair credit, mediocre, is 650 to 699. Poor credit, 600 to 649. And of course, bad credit is from the bottom to 600 or 599. So 300 to 599. So this is what you got to understand. The scale for credit is from 850 to 300. So a lot of times people look at an 850 score and feel as though they're starting at 0. No, everybody at least is graded on the curve and they start with at least 300. What you have to concern yourself with is gaining that 550 points. So what can you do in order to get that 550 points that you need in order to have good, excellent, or be in the best credit situation? So it's 550 points that are available to you that you can use to build your credit score. Let's dive in.
All right, so let's talk about the whole score. See, a lot of times people, they only concern themselves with getting things removed from their credit. But what you have to understand is that's not enough. That's not the only factor when building your score. There are actually 5 factors that will, that contribute to your overall score, okay? So we automatically start with the 300 points. One of the factors that benefits your whole score is your payment history. This is the biggest, taking up 35% of your overall score. It amounts to about 192.5 max points that you can get. That's simply just paying your bills on time, you guys, not missing any payments, not being late on your payments. Then you have the credit utilization, which is number 2. The credit utilization accounts for 30% of your overall score. So again, another really big chunk. That amounts to about 165 of your max points. Credit utilization is exactly as it sounds, utilizing your credit. But here's the thing. If you have a credit card with a $10,000 balance on it, you want to make sure that you're keeping that utilization as low as possible. Recommended between 10 and 30%, okay? And that will contribute greatly to your overall score. Number 3 is your credit history, which amounts to about 82.5 of your max points, and that is 15% of your overall score. One of the things that they're looking at is the length of your credit history. Again, it's all about you being active, you paying your bills on time, you not missing anything. So the history is extremely important. How well do you maintain, all right? How well are you doing overall over the last, year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? What is your credit history actually reflecting? Then we have new credit, which accounts for 55 of your max points, and number 5, credit mixture, which accounts for 55 of your max points. Both of those individually are 10% of your overall score. Now, the reason why I said those together is because they kind of go hand in hand. New credit is you actually going out and applying for new credit, whether that is a department store card, whether it's a credit card, whether it's a loan, whatever the case may be. But you also have to have credit mixture, and keep that in mind when you're applying for new credit. So you need to make sure you have both installment and revolving debt. And we'll get to that a little bit later in the presentation. But all of these 5 factors are extremely important, and this makes up your whole score.
And needless to say, what I like to tell people is, look, if a person that you're trusting with your credit isn't focusing on all 5 of these factors,
right,
then you probably need to fire them. Truth be told, we want to position you to do this yourself because you can. And if you're not doing it yourself, then whoever is acting on your behalf. But if these 5 factors aren't a topic of discussion, then you might want to fire whoever you're using. So let's dive into these 5 factors, shall we? Payment history. So this is the top one. Like we stated, this is 35% of your credit score. We want to spend a decent amount of time on this because this is what a lot of people mostly focus on, which we understand why they do because it's the biggest chunk of what affects your credit score. The solution to making sure your payment history is reflecting positively on your credit is 4 letters. Now, there are more letters, but these fantastic 4 letters are solid in really helping a lot of people. We got testimonies for days of people who use these letters to get their credit score to where they want it. The first letter is the debt verification letter. See, when you pull your credit report and you look at your score, you see what's reflecting, you see what's on it. It's verifications of debt or debt that is on there, but if it's not verified properly, then it can be removed from your credit report. So the debt verification letter is exactly what it sounds like. When you send this letter off, they have to verify the debt. Is this your debt? Is the name associated with the debt properly? Is the spelling right? Is the address correct? They have to verify that this debt belongs to you. And by doing so, then they're able to say that, yes, this is a legitimate debt. But if they're not able to do so, then guess what? It's benefits to you, even if it was your debt. And I won't dive too deep into that. The second letter, and these are sent out in series. You send out the debt verification letter first. If they don't do what they're supposed to do, then it's a letter that's sent out that causes them to have to remove it. However, if they do, now you need to find out what method they use to verify that debt. So that's called the method of verification letter. So basically, they have to justify how they went about verifying that there was your debt. If they didn't use the proper method, then guess what? They have to remove these things off of your credit report, which leads us to number 3. If the method of verification wasn't proper based on the FCRA, then they have to respond to this violation of the federal or the Fair Credit Reporting Act. That Fair Credit Reporting Act's right letter basically is you being able to use the Fair Credit Reporting Act to your advantage. And if they didn't abide by those rules, which is what all of the laws in conjunction with credit, they operate by this FCRA. So if they're in violation, then they have to remove this off of your credit score, which heightens your credit score and gives you the ability to claim more of that 35%. So that third letter a lot of times stops them in their track because either A, they didn't use the proper verification, or it might not have been legitimately your debt, and because of it, they are in violation. If they are in violation, that's a plus for you. Now, if they made it through those things and they didn't come with the proper proof as it relates to the violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you send them an intent to litigate letter. If you know anything about litigation, that basically means you have to get the law involved. There will be a lawsuit in place. So if you send that letter and you let them know that you intend to litigate based on them not doing what they were supposed to do properly, now they also are in a position to where they probably have to get things removed off of your credit, because if not, you're willing to take them to court. And in many cases, it's not worth it for them to pursue or allow them to have to be taken to court just for whatever debt it is that you're wanting to get verified or get removed off of your credit. So there are a few other letters, as I stated, but these are the ones that can be used depending on your situation. In most cases, this is enough to get you to really gain control of your payment history. You see, we're still just talking about the payment history, which is 35% of your credit report. So once you understand this and you apply these 4 letters, that heightens the chances of you taking advantage of that 35%.
And let me just add a nugget about the letters, you guys. You want to make sure whenever you're mailing off any form of letter, you're not doing that online. You're actually doing that by mail via certified mail, so that you can actually get a signed return receipt showing when those credit bureaus actually receive those dispute letters. They are on a time frame in which they have to respond to that letter. If not, guess what? That debt can be removed. All right. Let's keep going.
I love it. I love it.
All right, let's talk about credit utilization. Now, credit utilization is a problem for so many people, but for us, the solution is income shifting strategy, and that's what we want you guys to understand as well. What is the income shifting strategy? Well, it's broken down in a few different key nuggets, okay? Number one is correcting your tax withholdings. What does this mean? Now, most of the people that we work with, most of the people watching this video, you work a job, correct? Well, here's the thing. Your tax withholdings, also known as your W-4 form, did you know over 90% of Americans have that form filled out incorrectly? Therefore, they are overpaying in taxes every single time they get paid. Guess what? If you just fill out that W-4 form correctly, it brings more cash flow into your household, and guess what you can do? You can start paying down your debt, aka lowering that credit utilization, okay, so that you are within that 10 to 30% that we want you to stay under. Number two is creating business income. We saw earlier in the slides how income can affect your credit score, especially the lack of income. You guys, we got to be open-minded. A job alone is not going to get us where we're trying to go. It's not going to allow us to be debt-free and really live life on our terms. Sometimes we have to take a step back and understand and realize when we need to bring in more income in order to better our situation. So you need to understand the importance of creating business income of some sort on the side so that you can actually get to where you want to be financially and you can really start paying off these debts and getting your credit where you want it. Number three is lowering your taxes. Now, I talked about the tax withholdings on a job, but guess what? When you become a business owner, one of the reasons why we're so passionate about business income is because there's a ton of perks. Taxes being one of those perks, okay? You qualify for hundreds of tax write-offs, tax deductions that you can actually claim during tax time. Whether you're single with no kids, whether you have kids, having a business can benefit anybody greatly because the government actually shows favoritism to business owners, and you are paying the legal minimum in taxes. Number four, debt elimination, right? I've been talking about that this entire time. You need more cash flow in order to start eliminating your debt. So if you're currently living paycheck to paycheck, you're one of the people that I'm talking to where you need to create another stream of income in order to pay off that debt. Even if you're not living paycheck to paycheck, let's say you're living comfortably, are you in the position to become debt-free? Do you know your debt freedom date? That is what it's all about. And then number five, new credit and increasing your credit limit. See, sometimes it's just a matter of when you're putting things in order, when you're really getting your debt down, when you're really on the right track to improving your score, you need that new credit. Sometimes it's just a matter of making a call to your credit card company and saying, hey, can I get an increase in credit limit? I'll give you our example. We had a credit card with a $10,000 balance on it, right? It was up and down, right? We were not being so responsible with that card. We finally got to the point where we said, look, let's just pay off this debt. Let's quit playing. So we paid off the $10,000 card. We paid it off completely. And within, I don't know, less than 30 days, that $10,000 limit increased to $16,000. They gave us an extra $6,000 just for paying that car off. But the thing about the credit game is a little bit tricky because paying it completely off is beneficial, but you don't want to keep it that way. The goal of credit is to utilize it. It's just to keep it under a small amount. So increasing your credit limit, guess what? That automatically lowers your credit utilization. Think about it like this. Let's say you had that same situation, a $10,000 balance, and you had a $5,000 balance on it right now from just things that you've been swiping on that card. Well, if your credit limit was to increase to the $16,000, now that $5,000 is looking way better when before you were at 50%. Okay, so I hope that made sense. This is all I'm saying, you guys. Solutions 1 through 4 help you to pay down revolving debt, while solution number 5 lowers your credit utilization by increasing your credit limit.
And this is why this is important, like we stated. This is 30% of your credit score, for one. For two, most people don't have a solution for that 30%. So that's what separates this information from things that you may have heard, or people you may have paid, or people that are paying those who are fixing their credit. Most people don't have a solution for credit utilization. We just gave you 5 in the form of a strategy. Let's proceed. Credit history. So we told you credit history is about 15% of your credit score. Our solution to credit history is having an authorized user. Credit history is basically just the history of your credit. We don't have to overcomplicate this. So what we mean by having an authorized user is this. Find a relative or a friend with a credit card that has good credit history. Some people call this piggybacking. You're able to piggyback off of their good credit history so that it reflects on your credit. So if you're added to their account as an authorized user, which is what number 2 says, asked to be added to their account as an authorized user, you get the benefit off of their responsible credit habits. This is the kicker. The credit owner doesn't even have to give you a card. You would just automatically inherit their good payment history. So that's key, because not only can that benefit you, you can use the same principle, the same strategy as it relates to your kids. You can allow them to become authorized users, not use the card. You continue to be responsible with your credit, and guess what? Their credit history is increasing just because they're on the account as an authorized user. So understand the power in that, and understand that this is just a strategy. And sometimes people charge people an arm and a leg just to get some additional credit history by making them an authorized user. However, you can do this yourself with relatives, good friends, people that you know who have good credit history and plan to keep it that way. Do you want to tell them your story as it relates to how your mom did?
Yeah, I mean, my mom, when I was a teenager, coming out of high school, she actually added me as an authorized user onto her card. Now, she did actually give me the card. It had a very low balance on it, and y'all, she was on me, okay? She was making sure, hey, make sure you pay that credit card off. Make sure you pay this. Hey, the due date is this. She was on me. Even though I was inheriting her good payment history, she also wanted to teach me how the credit game goes and how to utilize a credit card.
I love it, and that's the proper way to do it. So make sure that if they're allowing you to being added to the authorized user, that they are being responsible, and if you add anyone, you're being responsible as well, because it can make or break your credit score. Trust me, I've seen it in both ways.
Seriously. Now let's talk about new credit. All right, the solution to this is adding trade lines. So let's talk about different ways for you to actually obtain new credit. Number 1 is department store cards. Number 2, secured credit cards. You may be familiar with these, so I'm not going to go deep into this. Number 3 is getting a cosigner. So similar to kind of adding an authorized user on the account, this is for like a major purchase like a car. You can actually get a cosigner, someone that has really good credit to come in and cosign for that loan for you. Number 4 is your rental history. Yes, I did say that, your rental history. There are different companies out there that allows you to actually have your rental history reported to the credit bureaus. And guess what that does? That contributes greatly to your score. Here's the thing. A lot of people are not going to fall short on that rent. You know, my husband likes to play around and say, of all things, they're going to make sure they keep a roof over their head, even if they're sitting in the dark. Okay, so rental history is a really, really good one. We rented for a very long time. We were never late on our rent. So that would have been an amazing thing to actually be reported to the credit agencies. And then number 5 is a credit builder loan, which is very similar. The credit builder loan helps you to build your credit as well as an emergency fund simultaneously. So it's all about just being responsible. The new credit, it's a matter of being responsible while also increasing your score. That's really what this credit game is all about.
And that leads us to this.
Yes.
Because once you follow those steps, you see, we told you about payment history and the importance of it. We told you about, the credit utilization and the importance of it. We told you about credit history. We told you about new credit. And the reason why we told you about all of those things is because a portion of your credit, 10% to be exact, 55 points, are accredited to having credit mixture. So if you've done those things properly, you automatically, by default, position yourself to have a diverse amount of credit interactions that help you with credit mixture and help you maintain, boost your credit depending on your scenario. So our solution to having credit mixture is applying for credit. Number one, revolving debt. Most people are familiar with revolving debt in the form of credit cards. It's the amount of debt that you have that can never quite fully be paid off if it's constantly being used. And installment debt usually has a timeline to it. So installment debt, an example of that is an auto loan or a mortgage, because you have a certain amount of months that they expect you to pay on that, which is known as your installment. And if you have a combination of both of those, that gives you credit mixture. So a good example or a good balance of that is having 3 active revolving per 1 installment. That's ideal. So if you got 75% revolving, 25% installment, then that gives you a good mixture. But like I said, once you complete the first 4 credit scoring factors, you will automatically have some credit mixture. But if for any reason you don't, depending on your scenario, then make sure you have that balance, because it shows that you're a savvy spender, you're smart about your credit, and you are on your way to 750 plus credit.